Hello everybody and welcome back to a YouTuber who hasn't changed his banner in years. Okay, that's true. My name is Evan Edinger, and you'll remember video responses. Showing my age here a bit, but this here is a kind of video response to a really good video I watched this week from Drew Gooden, which if you haven't seen yet, I highly recommend you watch, but also I'm assuming you have, because what else would you be watching on YouTube if it's not a Drew Gooden video? In his video, he talked about how food delivery apps are just really bad, cost everyone a lot of money, but are super convenient. I thought it was really interesting, but all of his data and all the stuff he talked about were about the American-based apps, and I thought, what else am I doing on this channel if not comparing UK and US stuff? And so I was like, maybe the UK's worse, maybe it's better. Let's dive in. So I'll be awarding points for consumer fees, how much we pay at the end of the day, the restaurant fees, how much they're charging the restaurants to use their app, and also for the driver wages and benefits, because hey, we're using a service, let's at least hope that the people that are doing the jobs are treated fairly. So the big four food delivery apps in the US are DoorDash, Postmates, Grubhub, and Uber Eats. However, as of filming this video, Postmates was just acquired by Uber Eats, so that's one less option, and Grubhub was also recently acquired by a UK company called Just Eat, which was also recently acquired by a Dutch company called Takeaway. So even though you feel like you have a lot of choice with all these different apps you can choose from, well, that's one more thing they're truly going to take away. No? No one? Okay. Along with Just Eat, the UK also has Deliveroo and Uber Eats, the same one that's in the States. We also used to have one called Hungry House, but, yet again, acquired by Just Eat. You're starting to see a trend here. They're eating each other up. Now, the UK is really big on its takeaway culture, and I'd say that there's two different markets here depending on what you're ordering, and it's all based on a vibe. Chinese? Well, that's a takeaway. Pizza? Sir, that's a delivery. Curry? Takeaway, obviously. Going for a burger? Mister, that is a delivery. I don't know how else to describe this. Just Eat caters more towards the local takeaway options, whereas Deliveroo and Uber Eats are very much like Postmates in the States, going for those big chain restaurants. But for consumers like you and me, how much do we have to pay for the convenience of ordering via an app? Well, Deliveroo is definitely the most egregious of these with the fees, having a small order fee if your order isn't large enough, having a service fee to pay for the employees to complain to when they mix up your order for the 1,000th time, or also the delivery fee, which is usually £3.99, which is absolutely crazy. I worked at a pizza restaurant for 5 years in the States, and the most we ever charged for delivery was $1.25. That's fair. This is 4 times that price, which is why I can never really constitute ordering Deliveroo unless I have all of my friends in the house that want to join in, so I can kind of feel like, oh, that makes it worth it. I'm one of those people that if they offer free shipping in a week or pay £4 for shipping and you can get it the next day, I'll just wait. I don't need it that bad. So for us, Deliveroo is expensive. You get the fancy shops for the fancy price. Meow. I also agree. Then comes Uber Eats in the UK, which isn't nearly as bad. They only charge a 10% fee of the total of your bill, which, unless you're spending over £40 for food, is still an easier pill to swallow than that £4 Deliveroo fee. And also, Uber Eats' delivery fee is based on the actual distance as opposed to a lump sum, so yet again, not quite as bad. And lastly, we have Just Eat, which helps you find restaurants around your area that usually already have drivers, and so a lot of times you can find places that offer free delivery, meaning you only have to pay 50p for the Just Eat service charge. That's a bargain, okay? I'm a big fan. Fun fact, no matter what app you use in the US or the UK, you can always order a Subway, which is a really useful way of finding out what each app marks up their price in the end. So we have here from the US, Grubhub, the total cost being $16.46, DoorDash, $19.26, Postmates, $21.52, and Uber Eats, $25.25. That is an average of a 55% markup on the normal price of 2 Subway sandwiches of $13.21. Imagine paying that much money for a really bad hoagie. I don't get it. This is the biggest realization I've had, the biggest takeaway in this entire video. Americans pay way too much for Subway. Ridiculous. I guess it makes up for us paying 3 times the price of what the US pays for Domino's pizza. Now looking at the cost of what those 2 Subway hoagies cost in the UK, we've got £6.78 if you went to the store versus Deliveroo, £12.21, Uber Eats, £9.19, and just under it, Just Eat with £9.17. Wow. So we're looking at a 32% markup in the UK versus a 55% markup in the US. So gonna have to give a point to the UK for this one. Dang, that's a lot. If you're unaware, one of the main ways a lot of these food delivery apps make money is by charging not just you, the consumer, but also the restaurant a commission as a finder's fee for finding you to order food from them. Except for a lot of these, the commission is so incredibly high that the restaurants are no longer making any profit at all because all of the money that they should be making for their job is now just going to the middlemen for basically finding customers for them. It's not a good model, and a lot of restaurants are going out of business for this. If we look at the current commissions in the US, we've got Postmates at 25%, Uber Eats and DoorDash at 30%, and Grubhub at 33%. Whereas in the UK, we've got 35 for Deliveroo, that's the high score, Uber Eats, same as the US, with 30, and Just Eat at a whoppingly low 14%. So if you spend £20 at a restaurant on Deliveroo, the restaurant is actually going to be losing about £7 of that fee. That's massive. And so over time, we're probably going to see the prices of food at restaurants go up to compensate that. But it won't just go up by that £7. It's probably going to go up by another 10 because they also are going to take an extra 35% from that. It's a vicious cycle. But as it looks like the average commission charged is smaller in the UK than the US, I'm going to have to give another point to the UK. Now, moving on to wages, in the US, up until last year, companies like DoorDash were paying their employees $1 an hour, and any tip that you gave them more or less just went to DoorDash's end goal of not having to pay the employees as much to get them up to minimum wage. This is pretty horrible, and luckily, thanks to a lot of public outcry, this was banned. But what they've been left with is still not very good at all. I'm going to be making a video about this terrible practice the US currently has, which is like a minimum server wage, in a future video, so subscribe if you want to see that in the future. In the UK, we currently have two different business models for how these food delivery drivers are paid. We have the one, which is from Deliveroo, which is paying a driver £7 an hour, plus £1 per delivery, but they're also trying to transition into the other model that Uber Eats uses, which is paying drivers a base rate of 0, and then paying them £4 per delivery. Now, in theory, this sounds great because you could make more money if you're making 3 or 4 or even more deliveries per hour, but as someone who's worked an under minimum wage job on the promise of more money, I can quickly tell you that is all a scam, because as much as you might think, wow, 4 deliveries an hour, I'm making a lot of money, you know there's going to be lots of times and lots of days in which you're making 0 or 1, which is well under minimum wage and should not be legal. Having a slow day should not eat into the employees' wages until they're below minimum wage. That should cut into the company's profits, especially considering that none of the companies I talked about in this video actually compensate their employees for canceled orders. So if you get that 1 to 2 and might get you up past minimum wage, oh no, someone canceled an order. Well, you still did the job, you still drove there, too late. Company's like, oops. Can't help you there. If you can believe it, the US has it worse even still. Postmates used to have a minimum pay drivers would expect to receive per order, so even if the fee wasn't up to $4, Postmates would still make sure they got a $4 charge for that, which is great. But then they thought that might be a bit high. They brought it down to $3, so now drivers get at least $3. But then recently, as of this year, they've removed it entirely, so now drivers have even less stability, especially if you consider that each of these apps is trying to push stacked orders a lot more, where drivers have to pick up multiple orders at the same restaurant to deliver to different faraway homes. But because they're only picking up once, they only get paid once for that pickup, so they're paying drivers even less. Also, in the UK, I'm pretty sure that over 90% of all food deliveries are done via scooter or bicycle, which means the gas isn't that expensive, especially on a bicycle, and the upkeep is even cheaper, whereas in the US, everyone's driving cars. There's so much more expense to doing that. So all the money that you're making from these food delivery apps are actually just going right back into the upkeep. But a big thing to consider about the US is that tipping culture is still a really big thing, which always goes back to the consumer. So along with having to pay the unincluded sales tax, the service fee, the small order fee, and the outrageous delivery fee, well, now you're also encouraged to tip the driver. Basically, it's just a very blatant model of pitting the drivers against the consumer instead of the big guys that are making the system up top. This is a rough one to try and add a point to here because tipping culture doesn't really exist that much in the UK and most drivers don't expect a tip at all, but at least the drivers are more fairly compensated than the US, so I guess I'm gonna have to give another point to the UK here. I don't know, maybe the US can bring it all back with the benefits they give their drivers, like DoorDash provide all their drivers with insurance on an active delivery. However, they do define an active delivery as anytime a driver has food en route to the destination, which you might have realized is only 50% of the time when they're on the job. Driving to pick up the food, get an accident, you're screwed. Not only do you live in a country without 21st century healthcare for free, well, guess what? You don't have insurance to cover that because your employer only covers 50% of your job. That is the most American thing I've ever heard of. Luckily, Uber Eats in the US and the UK define an active delivery for their insurance purposes as the moment a driver accepts a delivery to 15 minutes after, whereas Deliveroo in the UK further that with an hour after the delivery ends. But Deliveroo in the UK take this even further by giving drivers £50 pounds a night they have to spend in a hospital, and 75% of their annual income for days that they can't work because an accident they got into on the road for up to 30 days. But Uber Eats in the UK also provides £1,000 for any driver that has a baby as long as they've done 30 deliveries in the last 8 weeks. Now, luckily, because Uber Eats is an American company, it's in both countries, you can imagine what they offer in the US is the same thing. See, I found right here, it says, Uber Eats offers maternity and paternity leave to all of its employees. Oh, they don't consider drivers employees in the States, so, well, that's a bummer. I feel like it's really hard to make this type of video because it just seems like in the US they're constantly being pummeled by lack of workers' rights, which used to be a big thing over there. Another point, sadly, to the UK. Now, despite the fact that the UK has, for the most part, won this battle in a way, we still shouldn't be really happy with how it is working at the moment. I would like to double down on the point that Drew made at the end of his video, which is that these food delivery apps are really great and useful and convenient for us, but we should probably be using them just to find the local restaurants in our area and order with them directly. I know everyone doesn't like talking on the phone these days, but a lot of these restaurants also have websites, so just order direct. They make more of the money instead of these apps that are just taking it from them. And hey, they actually are required to pay their employees a living wage. In conclusion, as with most things, if we compare ourselves to the US, we won't feel as bad about what we've got in the UK, but that doesn't mean we should still stop fighting for workers' rights. Like, if I slapped you in the face and you complained, I could say, what? I could just punch you and shout yeehaw? I'm pretty sure you just prefer not to get hit at all. But hey, tell me your thoughts. How often do you guys order from food delivery apps? Is this a big thing for you, or are you not big into the takeaway scene? I'd love to hear your chats in the comments because I'm using them in next Thursday's video. Thank you so much for watching. I've got other videos over here for you to watch. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.